welcome along to the first episode of Shootout of 2021. A happy new year to you, where we debate the big talking points right across world soccer. And as always, with me to do that, the one, the only, Greg Brady. Here he is in Toronto. A happy new year to you, Greg.
I'm working off some a stone, if you will, some pounds, some kilos, a stone from watching so much Premier League football over the last 13, 14 days. You called it, almost a match on every single day. Carabao Cup as well. Like, I'm diving in on all of it. Who isn't?
It's been relentless, it's been eventful, and it's been entertaining as well. So, we're going to start with Chelsea Football Club. Quite simply, should they now sack Frank Lampard? What a big question to start the new year with, Greg.
It tears at my heart. I'm more upset about this, and again, I always hope that my wife's watching, and I always want your wife to be watching too, to keep us in check on this show, Steve. But this will affect me more than several of my other breakups in previous existences. But it might be time. It's not you, it's me. It may be time for Roman Abramovich to have that chat with Frank Lampard. I don't think he's doing it, but I might consider it, and I'll lay out the reasons why in a bit. What would you say to Frank? Valentine's or not? Is he making it to Valentine's Day, Steve?
Utter nonsense. Listen, I know it's Roman Abramovich. I know Frank knows the script when you go into Chelsea, but this is a different script, even by Chelsea's standards. Let's remind ourselves, as if we needed to, that when they appointed Frank Lampard, they couldn't sign a single player for 2 transfer windows. Then they reduced the ban to 1 transfer window and still didn't support him in January and bring a player in. So he went a whole season where he had to blood those young players and did terrifically well. Let's remind ourselves, Chelsea finished in the Champions League places. Let's also remind ourselves that Chelsea have got through the Champions League group stage and into the knockout stage, unlike Manchester United, who we'll come back to in a moment. And I will tell you this before I hit you with even more statistics, Greg Brady, that 6 Premier League games ago, Chelsea were top of the Premier League. We were hearing stories of a new long-term contract for Frank Lampard. Who were they going to sign in January to add to his team that had gone 17 matches unbeaten in all competitions? Where in 2021 are some people's memories? And actually, I have to say, he has retained the backing of the large majority of Chelsea fans that I speak to, and I know a number of them. They are still behind Frank Lampard. They are still looking at it rationally and thinking rationally. Now, whether Roman Abramovich is, only he will know, and we know what his history is. But as I say, Greg, compared to the firings that he's done in the past, you have to remember those circumstances I've just laid out.
Here's what I'd say. You mentioned the Champions League. The only way to maintain Champions League status, though, may be the rational decision to get another manager, because this team is not gelling right now. And I'm not sure about the mix of players. And there's managing the players you have, and there's the importing of the players you have. And those are 2 different functions for a manager. And listen, if you qualify, you mentioned it, they qualified for the Champions League. But if you do that with the team you had last season, I think we all agree they're more talented than they were 12 months ago. And there's more youth, and there should be more exuberance. And they've obviously, brought in some experience, a guy like Thiago Silva. But there's some old legs on that back end. There really are. There's some young horses that have yet to find their form. Steve, you don't even have to go back to Lampard being a player. Antonio Conte, post-Lampard's career, they acted very impulsively there. I'm not sure it was the right decision. People might forget. He got 2 seasons at Chelsea. He won the Premier League in his first season, and he won the FA Cup in his second season. And he was canned that particular summer. Now, a lot of those signings didn't work out, though. You'd remember Danny Drinkwater. Leicester fans certainly would. 35 million pounds they paid for him, and that was just one of a few missteps for Conte in the transfer market. But for Roman Abramovich, if you're hiring an experienced manager, that's not who Frank Lampard is right now. And I agree with you. I hate the idea they're running out of time. They're not. Here's their next 4 matches: Fulham, Leicester, Wolves, Burnley. But you've got to set a standard here, Steve, and set goals for Frank Lampard here. They've got to win 3 of those games. And even if they come out with a point against Leicester, I think they need 10 out of 12 points to even talk about Champions League, because after Fulham, Leicester, Wolves, Burnley, the fixtures are going to get a lot tougher. And you know, and I know, they have not played well against the bigger clubs this year. If anything, they have fallen quite flat against the bigger clubs that year. And that's got to change. That's got to happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. And he knows there's issues. But I repeat, 6 games ago, they were talking about a new contract. They were top of the league. They were unbeaten in 17 matches. We haven't even had half of the season yet. As we sit here now, they are 3 points. He has 3 points, 1 win in this crazy Premier League season off a Champions League place. They are 7 points off the leaders of the Premier League. And with that run of fixtures that you've got, they could easily be right in the mix again. But yes, they need a change of mentality. But there has to be for once at Chelsea, given the circumstances of last season, and then indeed this with the pandemic, and he's not the only manager in the club, there has to be an element of time. There simply has to be. 6 games ago, he was the best thing since sliced bread. He cannot be a sacked manager 6 games later. He knows when you spend over $250 million that the expectation levels rise. But we haven't had half of the season yet. And as I say, they were sitting there pretty at the top. Let's back him. Let's give the man some time to see where Chelsea can go. It's a very different conversation from 29 days ago. 29 days. Now, they say half a season's a long time in football. We're talking just over a month. Let's just relax. He is a club legend, and you're right. The Valentine thing will come in and all the rest of it. And that's probably why the supporters are staying with him. But they can also see what he's trying to do and what he took over from with Maurizio Sarri. And these boys, Kai Havertz, 21, Timo Werner, they've come out and said it, Greg. Listen, we underestimated the Premier League. It's much more robust than the Bundesliga. They can't just hit the ground running. Timo Werner's been playing out of position. Kai Havertz suffered from COVID and came back and tried to get his fitness. All these factors have to be in the pot when you're thinking about such a big decision. And I know he's done it before. And I know in his first 50 Premier League games, he's got the worst win percentage in terms of points as well. But listen, there are big reasons for that. And let's just see where Chelsea go over the next few months.
Yeah, you're right. And we're having a conversation about this. The one thing I worry about with Roman Abramovich is he's rather insular. He doesn't care what other clubs are doing, and he doesn't care about the longevity at Man United and Arsenal. And I'd bring up those teams because we both talked about these on previous episodes of Shootout. Is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in trouble? Well, it felt like he was. He worked his way out of it. I'd even make the case that we're seeing Arteta working his way out of trouble at Arsenal. They could have made a major move on him early in December. Now, it doesn't mean it's all going to end well for Arsenal. It doesn't mean there's a spot in Europe guaranteed. You talked about how tight the table is. And you mentioned the younger players. Look, I see talent. I see youth. I see a lot of remarkable raw skill. What I'm not seeing is a team. And these are his players. I'm seeing a lack of confidence among a lot of players. That Timo Werner is struggling right now. All these young players need to gain a shot of confidence. And Frank Lampard's going to have to put them in positions to allow them to gain it because it's a very uneven club right now that doesn't look like they've got a lot of joy playing the sport that they love so much, even as younger players, and they should have it.
It's a big game next for Chelsea. Fulham, West London derby, right across town. That's next in the Premier League. And as all the games, you will see that, of course, right here on DAZN.